Delta, joined here by Ace Squared. How are you doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing well. Just excited to watch some more League of Legends. It's been fun to watch the Student Championship up to this point. Lots of weird, crazy games, and I'm sure we're going to get some more of that going into the future. So hopefully we'll have some good games here, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so really quickly, we've got two teams here. We've got, I believe it is, if maybe I can, I forgot which team now. I don't know if we got confirmation about which name ended up being which. But we've got Team 3 and Team 5 for those of you following along in our Discord, which you can find by, I believe, typing !Discord into our Twitch chat. But it'll be two good teams here, lots of good players, some interesting, both I believe have at least one diamond player. So it'll be interesting to see how that ends up going. It looks like we're going to hop right into draft here. All right, so go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just saying it'll be interesting to see. A lot of these teams do kind of have concentrated points of power with where their players are distributed. So it just kind of always makes for some fun games as each team has one powerful piece that they're able to manipulate. So we'll be able to see how they were able to leverage that, try and get a win.
Yeah, all right. So we're going to see the Rengar ban as the first one taken away off the board here on the blue side, and Victor is going to be banned away on the red side. Obviously, we have the new item changes. We have a recent patch, so Victor is one of those champions that has been really able to utilize the item changes and is very, very powerful in that mid lane. So not super surprising to see that one taken away.
Yeah, and we'll see if this is kind of just a meta thing or if there is a player on the other side that really wants to pick that up. He did receive a couple of hotfix nerfs that make him slightly less oppressive, but still very powerful. And so if they, and a good blind pick too as well.
Yeah. Jhin and Thresh are the next two bans. Jhin, another champion that has seen a lot of presence in the bottom lane. Thresh is just an all-around solid support. Always seems to be part of any sort of competitive meta. Doesn't ever really go anywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you can hit those hooks, it makes the game a lot easier for your team.
Yeah, and Jhin utilizing a lot of the items very well. Sometimes you want Gale Force, but also Eclipse is something we see a fair bit on the Jhin. So just, a couple of interesting itemization options. What do you think of the new items so far? How do you feel about it?
Oh, I mean, I think it's still kind of early to tell where the dust is going to settle. The mage items, of course, are all very powerful, and those have been nerfed already. So, or I believe will be nerfed. So we're still on the patch where those are kind of the most absurd of all the new ones. So it'll be interesting to see if any of these players are going to pick champions that can make use of those. The Eclipse item also, of course, being picked up all across the map, intended for assassins, but you mentioned the Jhin is making use of it. I've seen it built on Renekton. That item is absolutely ridiculous.
And it's going to be the Ornn first pick. Something that I'd also like to say about talking about really powerful champions right now. Kayle is something that has seen a ton of win rate across the board, utilizing Riftmaker incredibly effectively and able to take out, really just scale into the stratosphere. So just real quick, Hecarim is banned away also as the last final ban, and Leona, one of the most powerful supports at the moment. And so those will be taken away, and Veigar will be picked up. So we have NYU How I Met Your LP on blue side versus NYU Redacted on red side. And Kayn will be the next pick. What do you think of the Kayn also? I've seen it with the Gore Drinker. It seems really powerful.
Yeah, I like the Kayn into Ornn so far. I think I like it better as a later pick to see if you can kind of get this God mode red Kayn into a bunch of bruisers that don't do a ton of damage. You mentioned the Gore Drinker giving the lifesteal and the new Hydra giving a lot of vamp. And so if Kayn is able to get that red form into a bunch of these tanky melee champions, he's able to just heal forever and never die. The Amumu, though,
yeah, NYU
super
LP
broken
picking
champion.
up what many people consider to be perhaps the strongest champion in the game right now. So that Amumu will be on the side of NYU LP, and they're going to add a Pantheon. Assumedly, that's a Pantheon support. We will see what the final pick of this first phase is for the side of NYU Redacted.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised actually if we saw a Kayle here. It is kind of a good pick into Ornn since he doesn't offer a ton of early pressure. Granted, with some ganks, he can. There certainly is kill potential there.
Ooh, the Samira.
Yeah, the Samira coming through.
Another very strong champion at the moment. Definitely something that has seen a lot of presence at all levels, and yeah, just really just been strong since release and hasn't really gone anywhere. So, a couple more bans incoming. We're looking for a mid laner and a AD carry, presumably on the side of NYU LP. They are going to ban away the Ashe, so taking away that AD carry option. On the other side, looking for support and a top laner on the side of NYU Redacted. So we'll see some bans probably targeted towards those roles. You mentioned how mages are very strong right now. We might see a ban or two headed that direction. And
yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if this is a Veigar support or a Veigar mid. This if it's a flex pick or if one champion is playing it. Just because so far the Veigar isn't really able to do a ton to the team comp that NYU LP's picked up. Usually when you're playing Veigar, you want to have squishies that you can one-shot with your Q and your R and take out of the fight instantly. And so far on the side of NYU LP, they have Ornn, who doesn't get one shot. They have a Mumu who doesn't get one shot, and they have Pantheon, who has a turn invincible button. So they might flex that around based off of the matchups. And I'm excited to see if that's the case.
You don't have the heart for this.
All right, so it is going to be the Lucian as the final ban on the side of NYU Redacted. Zillion plus Shen will be the two bans for NYU LP. And we're going to see one of the next picks here for Redacted. Like we said, we're looking for probably a top laner and a support. But as you said, that Veigar could potentially be a flex. Although, yeah, it's hard. This Veigar is maybe in for a bit of a tough time. Might not be able to do a whole lot of damage, so might be better in that utility role rather than that damage role. I guess we'll see.
Absolutely, and I think the other thing that NYU Redacted has to be looking at. So it is going to be Veigar mid.
Okay, interesting. Well, Samira Nautilus is so powerful that maybe they just decided they'd rather get that really powerful bot lane going instead of sacrificing some possible utility with the Veigar and sending him bot lane. That way they're able to snowball through bot. So right now it looks like the idea, at least for Redacted, is pretty simple, which is get Samira ahead and keep her there.
Yeah, and as they kind of get into this team comps start to be a little more solidified, it's looking like that game plan is going to be harder and harder. Samira really wants to be able to dash around these fights unmitigated, and there is a lot of AoE and point and click crowd control on the side of NYU LP. So if that is the game plan that they want to go through, J Forma is going to have a really tough time executing that, and we'll have to see some really good positioning from him.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bob the Snail will be on Kaisa, it appears, and the Castodon will be the final pickup for NYU LP, heading to Nebulous in the mid lane. Looks like we're probably going to get a top lane answer to Ornn. The Kale is still around. Not really sure what else we're going to see.
Galio.
Yeah, that I would be surprised if we see that one. Okay, well, there we go. I'm surprised. It looks like I guess it'll be the Galio top lane on the side of NYU Redacted. That's not something I've really seen. Have you seen that before?
I haven't, and I have to say I have quite a few games on Galio, and I would be I don't think it's very good. And this is what I was going to say.
Hold on. They're not actually going to trade it. It
doesn't
appear. Yeah.
So what NYU Redacted is trying to do here is they're putting the Veigar, which is a kind of scaling pick. So I mentioned how the Kale is strong into Ornn because it's hard for him to really pressure her. The Veigar functions in a similar way, where he'll be able to just get those stacks up and hit his Q, his Baleful Strike on Ornn over and over again, and be able to get that extra AP. So moving into these later game team fights, he'll be able to have a lot more of an impact.
Absolutely. So this is not a matchup we see very often, but right now, like we've talked about, looks like they've just put all their eggs into the Samira basket. On the other side, looking for a lot of scaling, and you want to talk about a scaling comp. Well, Ornn, Amumu, and Castodon, and Kaisa doesn't get a whole lot more scaling than that. So we'll see how that ends up going for the side of NYU LP. It also is interesting with Ornn, he upgrades people's items, and with the way that the new items work, you end up with multiple mythic items essentially on the side of NYU LP, which can be a very powerful thing going into this late game. So I guess for me, I feel like if NYU Redacted wants to make their team comp work, it's not going to be post 30 minutes.
No, not at all. NYU Redacted's game plan going into this has to be about snowballing early in the lanes and finding early picks, because when it comes down to the team fight in the late game, there is little to no synergy among their champions. Absolutely. The Kayn with the Galio and the Nautilus are kind of able to get in there and do some work. So that's going to be what they're going to look to carry these later game team fights. Like I said, with the healing into these really beefy bruisers that NYU LP has taken up. But I mean, Samira and Veigar into 4 bruisers have limited effectiveness as the game starts to
Samira really needs to get ahead early and take advantage of some early item timings. And so I think really the focus of this game, at least for me, is going to be on that bot lane matchup. seeing if they're able to get that Samira to snowball. So we're just going to be here for a couple of minutes. Spectator delay is in effect, so we will be going into game shortly. While we wait, if you just want to make a quick prediction, who do you think won the draft? Who do you think's favored in this matchup?
I gotta give it to NYU LP. I think their draft is much easier to execute. I think that barring any huge misplay, all they have to do is sit up and scale. It gets even harder for NYU Redacted, given that the Kane doesn't really want to be making early plays, or he does, but he's making early plays that are kind of benefiting him so that he can get to his form earlier, which doesn't necessarily fit into NYU Redacted's easiest win con. So I got to give it to NYU LP just for the sake of the easiness of their team comp.
And I feel like LP's comp is also just a little bit more cohesive here. They have an idea of what they're trying to do. Obviously, the idea of, well, get Samira ahead functions, but if you can't do that, or if you end up with some different pressures in these lanes, I feel like is a little bit easier to take advantage of. So we'll see how it ends up going. Obviously, it could be for Redacted that they get some of these wins in lanes. Samira gets a couple of early kills, and all of a sudden they have so much pressure that it doesn't end up mattering, right?
Absolutely.
So we'll see how that ends up going.
Yeah, well, and the Kassadin is something that we haven't really seen yet a lot this patch. I believe the last time I checked, he had like a 40% win rate, 41%.
Really?
So this champion is not doing well in the new preseason. I think the removal of Roa really hurt him a lot, and the change to tier as well. So it'll be interesting to see what build he goes for. I've seen a couple of Kassadins just opt for tank because those items are so strong. And that Rift Walk lets you really do a lot of work no matter what you're building. So, it's possible that with the lack of pressure in the mid lane from that Kassadin pick, that NYU Redacted will be able to make something happen early.
Yeah, so we'll get into game here in just a minute. While we wait, I know you remind me again, you have a favorite League of Legends team in the competitive scene?
Cloud9.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling good.
Yeah. Cloud9 Perks, obviously, for those of you who haven't heard, probably the greatest Western player of all time at this point. Going over to an NA and going to be playing on Cloud9 this year. Power of Evil was just officially announced as the new TSM mid laner, which is exciting. And we've also just got some other G2 Reckless, again, in the European side. So looking forward to a new season. Another season, it's been a while since we've had any huge, meaningful changes in the competitive scene. And obviously with new items, it doesn't get much bigger than that. So looking forward to that. Here we are in game. We've got NYU LP on the blue side and NYU Redacted on the red side. And it looks like just one thing that's sort of interesting is the new smite system, the new jungle item system. Amumu going for that chilling smite, while Kane will be going for the typical challenging smite. And obviously Kane in this game is going to be going the red form. You can usually tell right away based on what mastery and runes they have. Mastery doesn't exist anymore.
Mastery doesn't exist anymore. Runes they've got.
Showing my league age with that one.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I feel you on that. I think right away something to take note of, though, is the start from Kassadin. Nebulous on the Kassadin with the tier start. I've tried this on a couple of different mid laners, and especially when you have the teleport and you're able to get an early back to buy that item, I think it sacks so much early pressure, and it makes you so much less powerful than whatever champion you're playing against, especially into a Galio, who spikes in the mid game, but has a lot of power in these early trades.
On the other hand, though, Kassadin I don't feel like has a lot of ability to pressure the Galio early no matter what. So maybe there's an argument to taking this later game approach and just sacrificing, just saying, what, the early game's yours. I wasn't going to be able to contest it anyway, and just giving himself an opportunity to get to that scaling point more sooner. Although, in an interesting turn of events, we actually have the Ornn in the mid lane, as the Kassadin has been swapped up to match up with that Veigar top.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Galio does... Oh, but hold on. There's a little bit of an engage in the bot lane as the Nautilus dredge line is going to connect onto Flaustander. The Ignite is ticking. He might go down, but it looks like it's just going to be a quick trade. Only the Ignite burned from Laxius on the Nautilus. So a little bit of early aggression always with this Samira, as we were talking about. So it'll be interesting to see if that continues.
Yeah, I mean, Samira, like we said, does need to get ahead. Has the cleanse. Makes sense against the Pantheon.
But there's another fight. Well, that's going to be the first blood going into Flowerstander. The Pantheon damage doing so much. The execute from that spear strike. And they're going to keep chasing onto Laxius. The dredge line is available, but he's going to miss it out of the wall. Oh, and that's going to be another kill on the Flower Stander. The Pantheon Snowball is not what NYU Redacted wants to deal with right now. That is disastrous for them.
Yeah, and Flower Stand, he, as far as I know, he has played this Pantheon support every single game of the NYU Student Championship he has so far. We have another skirmish mid.
Well, there's a taunt going to land on the 2, and Inspire's going to go low, but he's just going to flash out of there. And this is what I was mentioning here with the Galio, then the Kayn being very strong into these melee team comps. So a couple of orbs secured there in this little skirmish, and NYU LP is feeling a little bit good about that, but still worried about this Pantheon in the bot lane.
Yeah, the Pantheon's definitely already a little bit scary, as we're going to see the cage come through, nice and Christmassy as we're getting towards that time of year. And again, Galio here into the Ornn, another matchup you don't really see a whole lot of. The Kassadin and Veigar top lane is actually a lot more typical, I would say. You definitely see a lot of that. And interestingly, we talked a little bit about Kassadin being not as strong into Galio. Kassadin is very good into Veigar, because you're able to have the mobility to avoid some of these skill shots post 6, not to mention that the magic damage shield on Kassadin with the Q mitigates a lot of damage. Ooh, we're going to have a fight up here top, though.
Yeah, the red buff is procced. The flash is not available for Nautilus. He should go down here, and this is really good for NYU LP. Oh, he might get out of a power shot, but no, it's going to be close, but they're going to get away with that one. Huge pickup for NYU LP as they, NYU Redacted, as they're able to get more of these red orbs onto Kayn.
Yeah.
Kayn,
this Kayn can transform, the better, right? Like, that's a really important thing here for NYU Redacted.
Yeah, if NYU Redacted wasn't able to get the Samira online, their second game plan is to get the Kayn rolling with the red form and get that Omnivamp on as soon as possible. So a little bit of a good trade back there from NYU Redacted.
Yeah, so we see about a 10 CS lead here for the Galio. Well, I guess we don't actually. So we've got about a 20 CS lead, as we're going to see a trade, and Undead is going to have to dash himself away. Maybe, Observer, if you could switch for me the Ornn and the Kassadin on the scoreboard, just so I can, perfect, thank you. So yeah, we got about a 20 CS lead for the Galio over the Ornn, but also a 25 CS lead, or about a 20 CS lead now for the Kassadin over the Veigar. So interesting to see how this lane swap has affected some of these farm numbers.
Yeah,
we'll see how that ends up going into these next couple of minutes here in the game.
Absolutely, and I actually think it's a really, really smart play from NYU LP to make this lane swap. Kassadin into these ranged characters is a lot better in the top lane, where the longer lane actually benefits these assassins who want to get onto you. There's less room to run away if you're trying to hit the wave as the mage. And then
you have to run farther away too, right?
You have to run farther away, exactly. And then Ornn actually, I believe, is a pretty good matchup into Galio. We see Freljord's Might is doing a pretty good job of securing a CS lead here, as there's a little bit of a skirmish around on Kiari, but the Dredge line is going to pull Flower Stand away, and the Demacian, the Hero's Entrance is going to come through and secure another kill for NYU Redacted. So a good counterplay as Kiari was engaged on, but they're able to get some back.
Yeah, a couple of kills going onto the Nautilus there. Laxius picking those up. Maybe not quite ideal, but still three kills, I believe, going over to the side of NYU Redacted. No, excuse me. Three kills going over to NYU Redacted there. 3 for 1, as well as the Dragon, though, getting picked up by the side of NYU LP. So they'll be happy to get that one, even though they did end up getting picking up a couple of deaths. As we're going to see a taunt come in. They're both level 6. Undead is just going to take a couple of whacks. Not a lot going on, not a lot of damage coming out from either of these characters at this point quite yet.
Yeah, and you can see in that trade that once we really get past some of the first early levels, how this matchup starts to go for the Ornn. The percent health damage from the Brittle attack with his Bellows Breath really doing a lot of work. And then the Galio, who his goal in these fights is to kind of burst you and run away, is a lot more difficult to achieve if you're playing into Ornn, who is hard to burst.
Oh, he's level 6 and Blue Penguin isn't. A lot of damage there.
For that. Yeah, he had the Rift Walk available. No vision of Kiari here on the Kayn, so potentially he was scared of a jungle gank. But we can see here how this long lane is really scary for the Veigar. He's going to go in and get it with the Rift Walk. The Nether Blade is available, and he's going to flash away. The cage is down. Is he going to go for it? He's taking the tower, and it's going to be a free kill picked up to Nebulous. Well done.
Look at the farm difference in the top lane. This Kassadin is already up 40 CS here. And so here's an interesting thing, right? We want to go back and forth about the CS, and Ornn is down 20-ish CS in the mid lane. Here's the thing about Ornn being down CS is, yes, obviously he needs some gold to function, but later into this game, it's really about the XP more than anything, right? Because you want to get those ornaments upgraded into the later portion of the game. And while obviously you want as much farm as you can have, he functions a lot better without farm than Veigar does.
Hold on, Delta, to the flash trudge lines coming through onto Bob. They're going to look for the further fight, but it looks like they're going to be able to disengage. The stun comes through onto Alexius under the tower, and he's going to go down. The turn coming in from NYU LP, as they're not going to look for any more, but really well played. Flower Stand is doing so much this game to get this early lead for his team. As a fight going on in the top lane here, the taunt is going to connect onto Nebulous. Empire is here. He has the Curse of the Sad Mummy available. This Gallo has no way to escape, as Nebulous is going to Rift Walk back in to secure that one. And this game is not going to get any easier for NYU Redacted. They're going to have to make some incredible play, as we see here. Undead is even going in on Blue Penguin in the mid lane.
Yeah, there's swapping back and forth. As the Pantheon comes in, Flower Stand is going to go on a J4. The Cleanse comes out right away. He is rooted up, though, and here comes the Samira. Wow, great use of the invulnerability from Flower Stand, though, keeping both of them completely alive, tanking that entire Samira ultimate, and they're going to escape with another kill on the Flower Stand, as he's going to be taken really low by these minions, but isn't quite going to die, and that looked like maybe he had overextended, but that Pantheon invulnerability is just way too strong and is able to pick up yet another kill on this bot lane Pantheon. So another big kill. Kassadin's also scaling up nicely. Mumu here, Inspire, keeping himself nice and even. Really, the difference between these two, as we look at the gold difference, 2,000 already plus the Dragon. The difference really is here on the Pantheon and also on this Kassadin. So two characters who can definitely have a lot of impact later into this game. And that's a lot of important gold on the right people here for NYU LP.
Absolutely, and we see a little bit of a play in the mid lane as they're looking for the 3-man onto Undead. He is going to use that Searing Charge to get away, but the red buff is available as the Flash Q is going to come forward. The slow is procced, and the Umbral Trespass is taking him in, but Flower Stand is here. He wants to look for the 1v2, but it might be too much for him. The shield is used, the Aegis Assault, but the rest of his team has arrived. The Void Rush in to secure the kill as the Blast Cone is going to be taken over. The hero's entrance is here, though. It's going to find a knockup onto 2 as the taunt lands. The Justice Punch into the Winds of War is going to secure the kill for Freljord's Might onto Bob. But the Mumu is turning it around with the Curse of the Sad Mummy. It's going to be a kill traded back. And a bit of a bloodbath, as it looks like it
ends up being a 3-for-2 for the side of NYU Redacted. So they do pick up 3 kills there. But it is, the kills are traded back in a way that ends up not being the end of the world for NYU LP. Yeah, obviously they don't like to give away the kills, but Kassadin's getting a lot of free damage onto this top turret. The Dragon is up soon enough that they're all going to be able to collab onto this and not give up anything there. And so, good job from NYU Redacted to take advantage of a little bit of a positioning error from Flower Stand Jr. there, but honestly not the end of the world, as this Dragon's going to be started up by NYU Redacted. Kassadin's backing Freljord's Might is going to try and stop him, but he's just going to ult himself away. The taunt does come through, though. Nebulous trying to get away has his ult up here in a second. He'll be fine, and Kane will secure the Dragon on the other side of the map. So 1-to-1 in these Dragons now. Big pickup there for the side of NYU Redacted, and not necessarily a full comeback being mounted yet, but they are doing the right things here and taking advantage of some of these mistakes by NYU LP.
They are, for sure, as Freljord's might go for a little bit of a dive. But what I was going to say is, yes, they are getting some things back. They've gotten the Dragon back. They came out even in the skirmish, which when you're behind is something that you're okay with. But I think NYU LP here is doing a good job of recognizing that they're the ones with the scaling advantage. They have the Kassadin, who's now 65 CS up on this Veigar. And so NYU LP should feel no pressure here to try and make any plays on the map. They've just completed their first item, the Luden's Tempest, onto Nebulous, and they just need to sit back, get these towers down, and let this Kassadin scale up. So I think well played from them to recognize their win condition and follow through on it.
Yeah, and also other thing is Bob the Snail only has 1 kill, but does have 6 assists, a lot of kill participation, and that's a fair amount of gold once you get to you know, obviously you'd prefer the kills on this Kaisa, but definitely a lot of gold for him, getting another tower plating there. So, you know, these scaling carry champions are really holding their own, and we see the number come in right there for Nebulous. 610 gold, and he might be in trouble here, though. Chiari's here.
The knockup is still available. It's going to miss, though, and he's just going to be able to take the Rift Walk out as the Justice Punch and the Taunt both miss. He's going to look for the re-engage, though, as the Umbral Trespass is you. The auto attack is not going to find it, but the dash is going to secure the kill. A little bit over-aggressive from Nebulous there, but we saw him completing the 5 tower plate takedown, plus the first turret gold solo onto him, picking up the needlessly large rod. This Kassadin is absolutely huge. So well played from the side of Redacted to try and get that shutdown onto him, particularly onto this Kayn, who's going to be the one who has the most effectiveness against the team.
Here, but so is Freljord's Might.
Yeah, the hero's entrance is going to land as the Curse of the Sad Mummy is going to do quite a bit of damage. Amumu is doing a lot here, but the Winds of War, Freljord's Might is just so ahead right now. Hextech Rocket Belt already completed. So well played from him. We see NYU Redacted here, making really good use of this Galio ultimate whenever it is on cooldown to make plays around the map. So props to them, props to Freljord's Might, and whoever's calling for those plays.
Yeah, another good play from NYU Redacted, and they're definitely not out of it. As Nebulous is going to be taunted up now. Freljord's Might does a lot of damage. Nebulous trying to get away, but that Riftwalk is in. We also have a skirmish in the bot lane. Bob the Snail taken very low. Here comes the ultimate
flash
from
forward.
J4MA, and he's going to get it. Freljord's Might as well, looking for Nebulous. He's so low. Taunt does come through, and they're going to pick up that kill too. So 2 more kills picked up by the side of NYU Redacted. It's not yet done yet, though. Flowerstan Jr. is here, and he's going to look for Laxius. It is going to be a little bit of damage onto this Nautilus as he's going to try and get away. I do think he's going to be okay, as we also have a teleport on the backside. That's the Veigar. Blue Penguin is here as well, and now Flowerstan Jr. might be in trouble. Oh my gosh.
The Rune is going to connect. He still has the Aegis Assault available, but the Primordial Burst is just going to take him down. And I gotta be honest with you, Delta. I have no idea what NYU LP is doing right now. They demonstrated before that all they needed to be doing is sitting back as the teleport's gonna come through the bandage toss. It's gonna land as the Searing Charge is still available, but it looks like but the Call of the Forge God's gonna come through. They could look for the tower dive. Bandage toss is almost available again. It's gonna whiff though, as the meteor is gonna come down. It is not available. The Rune is gonna land. He's tanking the tower. He's taking so much damage. How are these members still surviving? The Amumu used on cooldown to get the 1-for-1. I don't know what. I gotta be honest with you. I have no idea what NYU LP are doing here. They had the scaling advantage. They had the gold lead, and after a success of misplays, they've given it up, and they're now 2K down.
Yeah, I think they just got a little bit cocky and just were a little bit stronger maybe than they thought they were a little bit stronger than they actually were. As Nebulous is gonna get some damage on Chiari. Chiari is gonna go in. He wins this. Nebulous Rift walks back in. Chiari, though, healing up so much. Got that red paint transformation, and the Umbral Trespass is going to take him down as he set his sights onto Flowerstan. Flowerstan taking a lot of damage. Has to be careful here. Does use the deflection, but Chiari is looking for more, and Freljord is here too. Doesn't even need him. Double kill onto Chiari, and all of a sudden, NYU Redacted is taking control of a good portion of this game.
Yeah, I have no idea what they're doing here. Chiari, though, flashing in. He missed the hero's entrance. It is available. And the AD carry is just going to be taken down. Chiari is on a rampage as Freljord's Might is looking for Inspire. This Amumu has little to no way of disengaging. He's going to get the flash out, it looks like, but oh my god. Freljord's Might here doing so much work across the map, finding these picks. And NYU Redacted is just, or NYU LP, sorry, is just, they're letting it happen. They're not playing to their win condition. They're looking for these fights where they don't have advantages, and it's going to be another dragon given over to NYU Redacted. And that.
Sorry,
go ahead. No,
yeah, they're looking for these fights where they don't have the advantage, and also where they don't need to fight. They're not fighting over anything here. They're just fighting for the sake of fighting. Like right here they go again. Nebulous is for Blue Penguin, but the whole team is there. Nebulous is going to be taken really low. Blue Penguin is low as well. As Call of the Force God comes in. Flowerstan here looking for Chiari, but here he comes. Here comes the Q from Chiari. Chiari, can he stay alive?
The healing from Kayn doing so much work as Inspire's looking for 2 on the back line. Everyone is at 1 HP as 1 goes down. Chiari is taken out, and Laxius will soon follow. It's a double kill for the Kaisa.
Okay,
And
so 3
NYU
for 1
Redacted
for
getting
LP.
something back there. NYU LP getting something back there, yeah.
Yeah, they finally win a fight, but again, it's a fight I'm not sure they needed to take. And we talked about them, we were just praising them for playing patiently and playing to their win conditions, but then all of a sudden, they're just sort of letting NYU Redacted dictate the pace. As J4's here, Inspire does get the blue buff. J4, though, has that S rank, is going to get the ultimate through, but gets stunned up, and Inspire is here. Flower Stand as well. Shut down. That's a big chunk of gold over onto the Pantheon. Another kill for NYU LP. And we have ourselves a little bit of a fiesta here.
Yeah, and we see the power of that Amumu there, absolutely taking 0 damage. I believe the Amumu passive on his E, I believe it is, where he takes a flat reduction on any damage he takes, really does a lot of work there against that Samir ult, which is kind of broken up into a lot of small instances. And then just the damage from the Sunfire Aegis is doing so much. So, you know, the tanks are starting to scale up. We'll see if NYU LP can, or NYU Redacted, sorry, I keep messing these up, can keep finding these picks that they've gotten. As we see, the Justice Punch is going to miss on the pillar, but he keeps looking for the fight. The tower is there, though, and it looks like they're just going to back off. Might be looking for a dive here as Chiari is going for the invade on the enemy jungle, and Laxius has rotated up. So who do you think, who has got the advantage here? A lot of running it down going on both sides.
It's really close. We have another fight. No rest for the Wicked. Chiari is going to try and get away, and he is going to go into this Umbral Trespass on the Flower Stand, but this is a 1v3. I'm not sure he's going to be able to get away from this with his life. He's doing his best. The knockup comes through, but Bob the Snail killing spree is going to pick up the cane. So the thing is here is NYU Redacted, I think, has done a good job of recognizing more or less that they could start pushing the pace, but they took advantage of maybe some greediness on the side of NYU LP, and now we're seeing NYU LP maybe take a little bit of advantage of them getting greedy on the other side. Just a minute ago, there was a bounty on 4 of the 5 members of NYU Redacted. All 4 of those have now been cashed in by NYU LP, and they're back in the gold lead by almost 2,000. So really just sort of a crazy game here as Nebulous is looking for Laxius.
Yeah, the ult is going to be used. The depth charge is not going to do enough as the Kaisa takes the killer instinct in. The ultimate is procced from the Samira as the Grand Starfall comes in behind. And this is one dead Veigar as 2 ultimates are used there on him. And a 2-for-1, there we go, in favor of NYU LP, but Chiari here is looking. He has the challenging smite available. It is going to go down to Inspire. The hero's entrance is available. The combo going in onto anyone. The Umbral Trespass is going to give so much health back. It is hitting onto the Ornn as the AoE from Chiari is doing so much. And J-Man has arrived. The Samira ult shooting everyone down. Triple kill to the Samira there.
Wow.
And NYU Redacted, I believe, winning what was a 3v4 there, so well played for them.
Ends up
realizing
5-for-1 for NYU Redacted. They do kill the Veigar as the Grand Starfall came in, but that's the only consolation that they're gonna get for NYU LP. As also Nebulous, who they need him to provide some of this damage. He just got point and click executed by Veigar, which is definitely something that can happen in these fights. So now the Baron is looking like it's going to go over to the side of NYU Redacted. Nebulous, the only member here that can say anything about it, is going to go in, flash in, but it is way
instantly deleted.
Yeah, and Laxius VP picking up another one. Chiari looking to zone out Undead, and that is going to be the Baron for NYU Redacted as they're going to look at this Ornn. He's forced to flash away. They might chase him down here a little bit, though. They already have a numbers advantage because of Nebulous and the dredge line not quite connecting there. As Bob is here, another extended fight. Looks like that they're going to try and back away. Oh, but the dredge line does connect that time. Undead going, and Chiari's looking for Bob the Snail. He gets to knock up onto 1, and here comes the Samira. Ultimate is triggered. Flower Stand does get the block, but another dredge line comes through. Great job. J4 has so much damage. Another double kill for this Samira. And with this Baron buff, they don't even need to reset. They're just going to start taking towers here.
Yeah, and I think something important to highlight here is that these are not necessarily plays that NYU Redacted is making proactively. These are mistakes from NYU LP that are being punished really, really well. They have the tools, they have the Gallia ultimate, they have all of this crowd control to catch up these members who are frankly out of position. As we see Inspire going in, he's going to find a curse onto 2, and the mobility is there, but is it going to be enough? Nebulous is going to find 1, and Inspire is going to get another. And a good shutdown there onto the Kassadin, yeah.
Yeah, couldn't quite get enough damage there. And again, talking about mistakes being punished, again, just everyone here is just a little bit more antsy than they need to be, and we're seeing it go back and forth as now the Dragon's going to get started up by Inspire. He does actually, does not actually have Smite available, but I don't think there's going to be any contest here. Anyway, that will be 2-2 in the Dragon compartment, so won't see that one coming into play as like a big factor. The Soul is at least 10 minutes away for either of these teams, so that does benefit, I would say, NYU LP, because generally Soul is a big win condition for a lot of team comps, right? And I think you could definitely argue that it is here on the side of NYU Redacted. But the longer this game goes, regardless, it does always benefit NYU LP as Chiari is just out of.
Oh, the Hero's entrance though. Yeah, the Umbral Trespass is going to be taken and get a lot of health back onto Inspire as the rest of his team has arrived. The stun is going to land down to kill the Amumu as the call of the Forge Knot is used. Kaisa is getting knocked up. She's absolutely obliterated as the mobility and the global ultimate from Freljord's Might doing so much again with a counter engage. This team has so many ways to buy time. Even if Kayn gets caught out, he has that ultimate available to make himself untargetable. He's chasing on the Nebulous. He might be able to win this as the knockup is not going to connect. We see this Kayn is so effective against the enemy team. Something to note though, Stone Dragon was secured by the side. Okay, as the knockup is not going to connect. The Mountain Dragon, though, a huge pickup for NYU LP. Their win condition this game is to be able to out-tank their opponents. There aren't a lot of champions on the enemy team that are able to chew through the tanks of Amumu and Ornn. So if they're able to get a couple of those, especially with the additional stacking multiplier that Ornn already has on his passive, those two champions are going to be absolutely unkillable.
Yeah, and I just want to, say the ability for Freljord's Might on this Galio to just be all over the map, 9-2-14 on this Galio. He's absolutely massive and just playing this game really well. And yeah, that's sort of before that fight broke out, what I was trying to say is that, as the longer this game goes and they're stalling this game out by getting that second dragon here for the side of NYU LP, the better it is for them, right? Because they might be a little bit behind now. They're down about 4K gold and they've, but this game continues to stall out. Well, NYU LP eventually at some point will be stronger, right? There's a point at which they outscale and that's the end of the story. So getting that dragon there, like you said, a really big pickup. They want to stall out this game and move towards hopefully that Mountain Soul. But regardless, making this game go longer is in their benefit. And again, this has just been another thing where NYU Redacted has taken advantage of some mistakes, but they've also tried a little bit too hard, I think, to press some of these advantages and gotten punished back for it. So we'll see what ends up happening. The next thing I'd also like to point out is maybe we can get Observer Steve, if you could pull up the objective timers thing, we could take a look at when the next objectives are coming up. There we go. So we got Baron in 1:30 and Dragon in about 2 minutes. So those are the next things we're looking at as yeah, so we've got some big items completed.
There's a little bit of a pick here coming as the stopwatch is forced out. The Rift Walk to the re-engage as he's doing a ton of damage onto Veigar. The root is going to connect though, and the hero's entrance has come through. Freljord's Might is here. He is huge, and he is doing so much with this build. The Demonic Embrace doing a ton as J4 has arrived. He's spinning around, but he's not doing that much damage. Health bar's low on the side of NYU LP as the re-engage advantage comes through. It's going to land on the J4, but he's going to be able to lifesteal up, and Chiari has arrived. He's the one that can clean up these tanks as the health bars are blinking for the side of NYU LP. The kiting is not going to work out as it's going to be, I believe, a 4 for 3 already as the Chiari is looking to make it 5. Oh my god, these fights are
absolutely chaotic. No cooldown here, but he is going to be saved. Undead looks like he's going to be okay under this tower. I don't think Chiari can pull off this dive.
They're looking for it. J4's pushing the wave.
Yeah, J4's trying to get here too. We'll see what ends up happening. Undead trying to stay alive, but the thing is, if they're looking for this, they're not pressing their advantage in other parts of the map. So this is a good stall actually from Undead as teleport coming in from Nebulous. Tower gets destroyed though, and the teleport gets canceled. Undead is in trouble here, and he is going to be taken down by J4. So that will be the 5th kill of the fight being taken by NYU Redacted, and
Yeah.
we'll see if they can turn that advantage into a Baron spawning right about now.
And that is absolutely huge for NYU Redacted. Not only did they get the kill on the Ornn while the Baron is spawning, so they'll be able to get a little bit of priority around that objective, but the TP not being available on the Kassadin is also quite impactful. They have 2 teleports available on their side, so versus the 1 on the side of NYU LP. As oh my God, Penguin is absolutely obliterated by Nebulous, and so the man advantage that was held onto by NYU Redacted is now gone, as they're deciding the Baron might be a little bit too much to bite a hold of right now.
Yeah, so we'll see what ends up happening as they are looking for this Baron. Dragons up as well. And really the thing here too, I would also like to point out, is we're getting close though. Ornn, it's just going to be no contest. The Dragon being picked up by NYU Redacted, the 3rd one. They're on Soul Point now. But, you know, Ornn is level 13, so he's getting close to those ornaments being relevant, as Nebulous might be in trouble here. He might be a little bit deep. Tons of damage. He's completely out of mana here, too, as Freljord's might looking for the flash. Knockup is going to find it. Flash from Nebulous.
Oh, the taunt!
Rage taunt plus the Hex Tech is going to be enough to finish him off. Really well played from Freljord. And he's styling on Galio in a way that I didn't know you could do on Galio, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Nebulous here is feeling the weight of the new item changes and how they don't necessarily impact this champion. The Roa not being available for the extra health, as well as not having that tier shield available, make this champion so much more squishy than he was in the previous season, which from watching a little bit of his gameplay, might have impacted some of these deaths that he's had, where he's gone in seemingly expecting to have more resiliency than he does. And that's been exploited, and that's been one of the mistakes that NYU Redacted has been able to capitalize on. So, you know, this Kassadin still will scale, but it might take him a little while longer than it would, and he is an assassin right now. He's not a brawler in any sense.
Absolutely. So another thing I'd like to mention, Kaisa does have the Executioner's Calling passive on her inventory, but she's the only one who has that sort of effect. And when you're against Samira and Kane, I would definitely like to see a little bit more of that heal cut. It is a running joke around the NYU parks that no one knows that heal cut exists. It's something that we talk about around the Student Championship occasionally, but it definitely feels like, especially with the Kane and Samira healing so much in these teams.
Nebulous
is looking to punish, but Flower Stand is here as well, and Yari might be in a little bit of trouble.
Well, the teleport's coming through though, and the hero's entrance is available again. Why does this keep happening to NYU LP? They keep looking for these plays, but they never seem to realize that Galio can ult and that he has that available to him. And that's been the story of this game, as the re-engagements fire. He's looking for it. He has the ultimate available. The cage is just going to set up the disengage. And that, I mean, if this game keeps happening, unfolding the way that it has been in the past, here's the thing. NYU Redacted can only make plays that are reactive. The way that they've been winning these fights, every single fight that they've won has been off of the back of a Galio ultimate and a TP reaction to a play that NYULP tries to force. If NYULP doesn't try to force, there are very few ways for NYU Redacted to force these fights, but they keep
falling into the KP of 30, right?
Yeah.
He has been in every single one of these fights because they keep giving him the opportunity to show up with this hero's entrance, and he, all credit to him as well of having the awareness of finding these opportunities to use it, but also NYULP needs to realize that just because Galio isn't on your minimap doesn't mean that he won't be in your face very shortly if you take these
Absolutely.
fights.
And I think another part of that is choosing to engage onto Chiari on the Kane, on the red Kane, who now is the GA available. The Umbral Trespass has been doing so much work to buy time for this hero's entrance, which, when you engage into Kane and he ults you, your first reaction is to walk him back into your team so you can blow him up when he jumps out, which is exactly what Galio wants to do, is ult onto someone who's in the middle of the enemy team. So, I mean, yeah.
All right, well, just to say real quickly, so as I was talking about it, we now have double Oblivion Orbs completed for Kassadin and Amumu, so we were just talking about heal cut, a little bit more of that done, as Chiari and Ko are just going to push into this mid lane. Galio is in the bot lane as well, but remember, that doesn't mean he's there for very long. If it needs to be mid, they need to be wary of that. Recall's coming in for Inspire and Nebulous, but right now, NYU Redacted is just pushing the tempo, and they're being able to get these reactive plays, but also just get wherever they want, as we're going to see another tower taken away by NYU Redacted. And also, Mountain Soul up in about 45 seconds. That is another big fight. And, you know, we were talking about that being a win condition for NYU LP. Well, if NYU Redacted gets it, and go ahead, take this one away.
Oh, the fight is split, though. Chiari is finding himself on the other side of the fight without the hero's entrance available. It's a split fight as Undead is finding himself in a 3v1. Cassidon's already been killed. And even in the split fight, it does not matter. NYU Redacted is 2 ahead. None of these champions can die, and at this point, NYU LP really needs to be looking for stalling this game out to get this Kaisa going on 3, maybe 4 items. But NYU Redacted might just be looking for the end here.
But not only that, you know, even if they don't, they've got 30 seconds on 3 members, and Dragon Soul is up. They can look at that as we're going to see another fight. Kiara going in, Flower Stand is taunted, Samira gets the shutdown on the Kaisa, and the ace for Freljord's Might. So just like that, 2 more big kills, the ace, and they might look to take the towers here, like you said. I thought they were going to look to go take this Mountain Soul. I don't think they need it. I think they're going to end right here.
Yeah, why have a Mountain Soul when you can have a Nexus? Undead is up and Nebulous is up, but it's not looking like they're going to be able to do much. The Alt F4 from Flowers, as it's going to be the game going over to NYU Redacted. So well played by them. I think MVP of the game has got to be Freljord's Might.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about
great
this.
plays. Yeah, right.
If Freljord's Might absolutely just impacting every part of the game with that hero's entrance, but also just playing these team fights incredibly well, hitting big taunts, big knockups, absolutely carrying his team to victory here. And congratulations, NYU Redacted, winning this week over NYU LP. Wow, so that's a lot of damage from the Galio. Not usually a character you associate with a lot of damage, but he did all of it.
That champion's how I got on a plat 4. That champion can do a lot of damage.
Yeah. So Veigar maybe getting carried a little bit here.
Yeah, maybe.
Got out damaged by the Nautilus.
Well, even though you have to. The Veigar did the job. You're picking that champion for the utility that comes with the cage, and I think we saw a couple of times that denying the re-engage from NYU LP was a useful tool in their toolkit.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, well played by them to recognize what tools they had in their box and capitalize on where they could find their advantages.
Yeah, great job there from NYU Redacted. You know, we talked about how if this game got too late and LP was allowed to scale, that it would be really hard. Well, NYU Redacted was able to capitalize on some of these mistakes in tempo and positioning from NYU LP, and were able to play to their strengths. The Samira was very strong, dealing a lot of damage. Obviously, Galio did everything and then some in that game. And yeah, really just great job from NYU Redacted. I feel like, it wasn't perfect. It was definitely sloppy along the way, but they really just played to their strengths and understood what they needed to do to win. And you know what? When you do that, you win a lot. That's what they did.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, do you have any other thoughts about that game? Another good one. I know you'll be playing next week.
I will be, yeah.
You on the Rifts?
On Team 4 Fun.
Yes. So we will see you next week on the other side. I'll be here next week as well, along with Hotfish, my co-caster. Actually, I believe it is not. We'll have to check. I'm not sure if it's going to be next week, as in this weekend, just because of Thanksgiving break. But if you don't have anything else, thank you guys all for tuning in. We will see you whenever we do see you, whenever that is, and I'm sure we'll let you know. Appreciate you all being here, all of you in chat for showing up. A Squared, thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have you back. And I'm Delta, and for A Squared, thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.